and welcome to Reaping the Benefits of Change. Um, this is one of the what we try to have at least 4 times a year of Julian teaching pop-ups that are free to our community and free to anybody, free to the public. Please welcome. Um, my name's Jan Clayton, for those of you who don't know me, and it's probably not too many of you who don't know me at this point. I'm a member of the Julian Teachings Advisory Council, and I've been studying these teachings since the mid 90s, I think. I'm a certified teacher of the self-awareness material, but currently I'm teaching or leading Tamir's Pathways meetings mostly. And if most of you also know me from, I am one of the editors of the Ring of Light, and I also do a lot of the work on the Julian Teaching Shop, where you can get recordings and transcripts of the Julian material. And my partner in crime for this morning is Andrea Smith. Um, and she's another member of the Julian Teachings Advisory Council. She's been, I shouldn't speak for her, but she has been a member, I think, since the 1980s, right?
Right.
Um,
Well, yeah. Uh, earlier maybe, but yeah, 80s.
and she teaches transition energy, um, and is currently the only mystical magus teacher. So if you want to learn those studies, she's the person to contact. We were absolutely honored when Camille Albrecht contacted us this summer and asked us to give as she said, a tipping point related pop-up. Um, the interesting thing here, we know who this is. Sorry, hmm. If there's background noise, you might want to mute yourself. Okay, I'm just going to mute everybody. There we go. That makes things a little bit better for us. Um, Camille asked us this summer to do the tipping point stuff. Both Andrea and I right now say, well, everything has to do with the tipping point. So it leaves the topic area wide open. And so we sat down and we did meditation, we did some thought and discussion, and we decided to talk about change. And specifically about how instead of resisting it, which we are all want to do, how we can make the most out of it. And so that's what today's about, reaping the benefits of change and finding the pony and seeking the unicorn, which we will talk about going on. So, why this? Well, as you probably all know, humans are notoriously bad at change. We resist it because it leads us from the known to the unknown and often from the comfortable to the uncomfortable. Change always requires some kind of adjustment. And that means the change happens. And then there are all these secondary or tertiary changes that are required to support that primary change. And as a result, change often feels hard, typically exhausting, even when it's good, even when it's a change that we want to happen in our lives. Why is it so? Why do we want to talk about this now? I just wanted to share this one slide today. Hopefully, you'll be able to see it. This is what's happening this year, actually started in November 2024, with respect to change astrologically. November, Pluto moved into Aquarius. March, Neptune went into Aries. May, Saturn went into Aries. June, Jupiter into Cancer. July, Uranus into Gemini. And then there are all the smaller planets that go around the sun very fast that change every couple weeks to every couple days. Change. When these universal planets move into different signs, they create, well, when the sun moves, it drops a pebble into a lake. When Pluto and Uranus move, they drop boulders into lakes. The waves are incredible and they affect all of us. And so this is what's causing all this change. And remember, it's to change to almost every single aspect of our lives. Maybe it's not happening necessarily to us personally, but it's happening everywhere around us. So that's what we're contending with. And unfortunately, it's not going to stop anytime soon. The ripple effects are going to continue for at least a couple of years. So it's been a huge change for us. Some of these changes feel good, and let's face it, some of them feel pretty ugly. We can't stop change. Julian said many times the only thing we can count on is change in our lives. So all we can do is accept it, adjust to it, and maybe with some careful thought and action, figure out how to get the most out of it. We can take the positive ones and make sure they grow into everything that they can become. And we can take those ones that feel negative to us, look for the reasons why they came into our lives, look for the benefits and opportunities that arise due to the change, and then make most of those opportunities. Akahu, which is Camille channels quarterly, a wonderful sort of change of seasons from Akau, her master teacher. And this one really struck us as to how this season is different. This fall equinox period is different from most. Most often, this is a time of pushing forward to take action after the maintenance and evaluation energies of the summer solstice period. It is a time of high activity, initiative, and advancement with the harvest. This equinox is not so. Rather than pushing ahead to initiate the new, excuse me for a second, this is a time to step back, to view things with a fresh perspective. Examine the harvest. That is what you've created in your life thus far and what has manifested around you. Examine it with new eyes. And this is what we want to help you with today. Our goal is to give you a set of concepts and processes to examine the changes that have occurred in your life over the last 8, 9, 10 months, whether you consider them good or not. We want to help you make the absolute best out of them, hence our subtitle, Finding the Pony, Seeking the Magical Unicorn. So, the first part of this, Andrea, do you want to add anything at this point?
No, that's good.
So, we're going to start out with just a little tiny exercise. And some of you I know have probably already brought these things because you're good at doing homework, but others may not. So, what we'd like you to do is write down a couple changes, at least two, and I'll explain what those two are. Most five, and I know all of us could write down 20 instantaneously. But think about the big ones, the ones that have significant impact. And if possible, we'd like you to write down at least one change that you view as very positive, something that had a really positive change in your life. You're really glad it happened. And then please write down at least one change that you view in a negative light. In other words, you wouldn't have chosen it to happen if it had been your choice. I'm going to give you a minute or so to do that. And as you're doing this, look at each one of these changes and sort of evaluate how big is it in your life? How big is the change? And then how big is the impact it had on you? Note that sometimes large changes can have only modest impact, but even little changes can have huge impacts on our lives. And what kind of impact did it have? Was it physical? Was it emotional? Was it mental? Or was it spiritual? Or some combination of all of the above? And when you're ready, look at those changes as a group. Are they all in one part of your life, or are they scattered throughout many areas or aspects of your life? And maybe even more important, do they have a theme? If so, what is that theme? And then we're going to discuss if anybody wants to speak up about what did you discover by asking these questions? Did you have any aha moments? Is there anything interesting about the changes that popped up? Anybody want to talk? Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Well, I guess I'll go ahead.
Please.
Um, this past year, ironically, started around October, November of 2024. Um, the total rug was pulled out from my husband and I. I mean, it, when I look back on it, it's like, wow, we were hit by three hurricanes. We've lived on the Gulf for 27 years, and not one hurricane had touched, but we were hit by storm surge of three hurricanes. Just prior to that, we had decided we were going to size down, move from a 5,000 square foot home to a condo. We hadn't picked one out yet, but the hurricanes did not lead us to thinking that. And I couldn't understand how I all of a sudden wanted to go in a condo because I never wanted to go in a condo. But it was like somebody flipped a switch on me. Even my husband was shocked. So, okay, we found a condo. It has, that's one change that has been amazingly wonderful. I like having less. It's been a pain in the patootie to try to get rid of 51 years of marriage stuff, things that I thought I needed, like depression glass and teapots and this and that. Um, but it's been enlightening too. Also, fixing up the house to sell it has taken close to a year. And that has taught me a lesson in patience. I am not a patient person. I'm organized. I want it done yesterday. And this has been a pulling the rug out from under me. To overshadow that or over whatever it, my husband was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. All of this at the same time. So that has taught me not only patience. He's not real bad yet, just the beginnings. But it's taught me patience, but also taught me I need to get control of our finances, of how to fix things around the house, how to do this, how to do the stuff that used to be his job, and I had my jobs, and I need to do both jobs now. So that's what's happened to us in this last year. And to describe it as change, it's beyond change. It's been overwhelming, but it's okay. Through the whole thing, I've felt it's okay. I'm learning stuff. And, that the only one that I could look at and say was a negative thing was his diagnosis that there's no controlling any of this. There's nothing I can do about it except be patient, which is a hard thing for me. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Thanks for sharing, Donna. That's yeah. I wish I could say that you're the only person in the world that's had similar experiences this year, but I
I
actually
know.
know several.
Yeah,
And
I'm not.
but
And, and we lived through it. That's the main thing. Many lost family members, pets, whatever. We lived, all our family, our kids, our dogs, everything, we lived. So that needs to be looked at.
we have time for about one other person to share. Anybody else want to share what they came up with or what you can just again unmute yourself in case I don't see you. You don't, that's fine. I understand. But go ahead. Is that you, Patricia? She's trying to. There you go.
Okay, okay. Um, I live in the Gulf of also St. Petersburg, Madeira Beach area, Florida, and I went through the hurricanes too. And I wasn't there during them, thank God. But my place and the whole condo community had a lot of devastation, and people are still not in their first floor units. I'm on the second floor. So I had a lot of uh, stuff in my own place needing to be fixed. The floors, a lot of stuff. And hearing now, I forgot the name of the lady who just spoke. What is her name?
Donna?
Donna. Um, it helped me kind of think about this a little differently. Like there was a lot of devastation, but it's fixed now, at least in my unit, and it's getting healed. And it's almost like that I need to trust. I also had a lot of problem with the insurance company and getting paid with the and contractors. But it's almost like you have to trust that things will work. In some sense, maybe you can speak to this, but things will work out. I tend to worry, and some things were out of my control. But I had to be very patient too in terms of dealing with all this, and it took a lot longer than I thought, and it's still taking a lot longer for people that haven't moved back in yet. And I grapple with whether I should move from that area or not because I don't want to get hit again and have that happen, and could be worse. But the other thing I wanted to say is change I haven't chosen that is bothering me is I have an issue with my right optical nerve in my right eye that I didn't know about. They discovered it when I went to try to get cataract evaluation. But it's almost like it doesn't affect my vision right now, but they have to figure it out still. But it's almost like I'm feeling the eye, and I try to tell myself, um, I see beauty all around me, a positive affirmation. But it's like, I don't like the political change I'm seeing in America. And I feel, is there a connection to my eye? And I don't know if you could speak to that, but that's what I was feeling.
Well, we'll get back to it. You might actually get some insights into that a little bit later. So we're going to spend time working with two of these changes, a positive one and a negative one on your list. So this isn't going away. Um, and um, and we're going to start out with positive. So we're going to do both a little bit of a discussion and then Andrea is going to do a wonderful meditation working with each of these changes. So let's start out with positive ones. Most often we view change in a positive light when particular kinds of situations are brought into our lives. So, for example, change is made where improvements occur. There's something in your life that wasn't going as well as you wanted to, maybe your finances or a partner or your house or an illness, and the situation has improved. And of course, that's a change that always feels good for us. And whether you make the change or whether it just happened makes no difference. It still feels good. There's a similar one, but slightly different, which is progress has been made on a project. You've been maybe trying to get something done and it just doesn't get done. Um, and so making a progress on a significant goal or desire, especially when it's been followed by a period of blockage or stagnation, always feels good to us. Sometimes a change feels good when it's an opportunity that appears to us, right? That change has created opportunities to do something that you've always wanted to do. So it's been on your bucket list, the dream job, the dream vacation, or something else on your bucket list. And then the other thing that always feels good with change is when we personally adopt beneficial habits. Okay. Maybe you have made a positive change to your lifestyle. Whether you've changed your eating, your exercise habits, or something else. And you, even if it's not having a positive change, this moment, it's going to have a very positive effects over time. You'll note that it's easy for us to figure out the pony in these positive changes. We can look at them and know how they benefit us. But the question here that I have and Andrea have is sometimes that's where we stop. There are often sets of people who a change comes into their life, they like it, and that's where they leave it. Good, that change happened. Great. And they just basically sit on their laurels. And then there are those people who take positive changes and they embrace that change and they leverage that change to make huge additional changes and to nourish themselves and to make significant inroads in their life path. In other words, they're engaging in the support the universe has given them to even go further down their path and to make it even better. You know, often these changes, the light has illuminated our path. And these positive ones allow us to dance, to have joy in our life, to bring nice things. Are we taking advantage of that joy? Are we celebrating the way we need to celebrate? So the trick here often is to figure out how you can embrace and leverage a positive change in your life. So you might just want to ask the following questions. What habits or tools or processes can I put in place in my life to get the most from this change? What other changes can I make that could better support this change, make it stick, make it be the best possible? How does this change relate to my path in life? Is it nudging me one way or another? And here's an interesting one. What can I do to mitigate the inconveniences of adopting this change, even if it's a positive one, in order to maximize the fun and the joy associated with it? Interesting. Did any of these questions present eyes to you about how you might expand on that change, some of those positive changes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I want to say I had a bad fall, hurt my leg, had to even lose my leg. But you know what I had to learn, and I looked it up in the dictionary, is patience. Okay, there had to be a reason. And also to be patient, let me start where I'm at and take a breath instead of running around. Because sometimes when I slow down, I realize I missed something. So, with all the changes physically, and then I felt the big changes right now have been the emotional changes. I don't know if anybody else has felt that, but there's been big changes in me emotional. Maybe I'm growing up now, who knows? But it's interesting how when you have a disability like this and a life-changing thing, you suddenly learn to be patient. You understand, even though you thought you knew it, you're still learning new volumes of things daily, even with each breath. Thank you.
Perfect, Carol. Totally agree with you.
It ain't easy.
Yeah. Anybody else want to say anything? Otherwise, Andrea's going to start a meditation here. Go ahead, Andrea.
We'll start with scribing a circle, although we have already formed a circle and a circle formed as you entered this meeting. You joined that circle. We're going to formally do this. So I'm going to scribe with my wand. Heaven and earth, hear my call. Earth rise, heaven descend, merge and mix. And in the merging and mixing of heaven and earth, purify this space, our meeting room space, into a temple of light. And take a moment to feel how that purification, when heaven and earth met and declared an intention, a purpose. So our meeting just shifted into a healing temple, a temple of light. Thank you, heaven and earth, creator and creation, for the purification of this space. Creator, join us as we protect this etheric temple of light and the temples of light that are formed by each of those of us who are here and those who listen to this recording later. Each are a separate temple of light, but joined in one big temple. In this temple of light, we call on the powers of earth, air, water, and fire that are the formation, the directions that give us perspective, and the winds that move all of these. So that's the 12 foundation energies. And we find that those have formed here in our temple of light. And then we take a deep breath. And with the first breath, let your body calm. Your physical being is relaxed. And with the second breath, our minds come into focus. They're ready to work, but they're not focused on anything yet. They're just ready. And with the third breath, our minds know, our higher minds know what we're about, the meditation is about. And they move, they elevate to that space that's right and perfect for each of us individually for this meditation. And we're going to add a fourth breath. In that fourth breath, we realize that our energies can work together in support of each other and in support of our planet. We remain individuals, and yet we are one in support of each other. And in this purified and protected and ready space, allow yourself to simply hear these words if you wish to. A tipping point is reached when a perspective is shifting. And a tipping point can be more than the tipping points that we've been working with as a group. We've been working with that tipping point in which we know ourselves better, we know ourselves, and we get along with everybody else. And we know that with those, our planet will shift. And there are more tipping points. We personally have a tipping point every time we allow our perspectives to shift. And so ask if you're willing to make an affirmation. I welcome each tipping point as an opening. Each tipping point carries me deeper into clarity, greater understanding, and greater communication in our relationships with others. so I know myself better and I get along with everybody else. So, as I welcome that tipping point, look at the goal that is the most joyful, happy, positive of the goals of the changes that you've had. What was the biggest change as far as being what you would call positive, wonderful for you? Feel that well up inside you. Was that change a collapse of a perspective, one that you let go? Was it a rising of a new perspective? What perspective changed for you? What view of the world? Our entire journey is determined by our goals. We set our goals through free will choice. And our goals will always lead us to our own expansion as well as that of humanity. Tamir said that just today in a communication that he blasted out to a bunch of people. So how did this change feed my personal goals? Take a moment to sink deep into yourself. You're like, picture yourself as a lake, and you've got a fish hook on a fishing line, and you drop that into the lake. And that lake is the goals that you brought into this life and the reality of who you are. And pull that hook out, pull that line out and take a look. What have you caught? What is the goal that you are supporting through this change? And now, as you hold that goal close to yourself, allow yourself to rise, holding the goal. You go up higher and higher and higher until you find you're in space. And as you reach up, you feel the universe. And as you reach down, you feel the earth. How does your goal, the goal that was fed by the change, feed the universe's goals? For the goals of the universe support the creative mind of the creative force. How are your goals feeding the creative force? How are your goals feeding the transformation of humanity? How are your changes feeding all that is? This may surprise you as you take a look. Let yourself be surprised by the transformations that happen as a result of a simple change you made. We're high up in space, Go a little higher and find that you have stars all around you. Stars above you and stars below you and stars to your right and to your left. You're totally surrounded by stars. And you find that their energy is joy. And in their joy, they tell you why they're happy for the changes you made. And they tell you of what you've done to contribute to the advancement of humanity. And they tell you something else. They tell you more steps you can make. They won't actually tell you the steps. They sing a song, and that song reverberates inside you. And you find your own steps. What will you do with the changes? That really beautiful change that happened in your life. What more will you do with it in the transformation of yourself and humanity? And you tuck that away inside you. Right now, out here with the stars supporting you and singing around you. And you find that you are claiming nurturing. You have harvested something to nurture you for the future. You're claiming it within as you slowly move back down. You slowly move back down until you're hovering above your body. And you take a moment to be grateful and happy that your body's waiting there. And as you slip in to your body, you take another look. What new things have I claimed? What changes have I claimed? What have I let go of? It's all your choice. All of the changes are your choice. And so you choose here as you've slipped into your body. You choose in your mind the changes that you've claimed that you wish to keep. You claim in your mind those that you want to let go of, the things from your past that you don't need anymore. And as you move from your mind into your throat, the bridge into your body, you feel the transformations that are coming into the physicalness of you, your physical chakras, into your heart to love yourself and to love the transformations that you've made. Always your choice. And into the solar plexus to identify with the changes that you've made. Is this a change I wish to claim and deep inside myself? If so, you choose and you claim. Something you're not comfortable with? You choose and claim or let go. All our choice. Even though it seems like things happen to us, we choose. Is this mine or not? And into this You slip from the solar plexus into the second chakra, the creative center of self. This one's very exciting because the water chakra of you, the creative center, is going to make use of all the changes that you've claimed. And you take a moment to revel in how creative you really are. We don't have to paint it. We can paint the world instead with the color of love. The creative center of you knows how to use the changes that you've claimed. And you slide into the base chakra, into the grounding of you. And you feel your feet root deep into the earth. You are rooted like a California redwood. You're rooted like a mighty oak. You are rooted like the Rocky Mountains. You are rooted to the earth. And the earth makes a response back and says, I promise to support you in your changes. You have the support of me, the earth. And you have the support of the stars. What more could a person ask to be happy? And you take a deep breath. And you return. And sip some water if you have some. And if not,
Please,
have some tea.
yeah, please take a few seconds if you need to write down any notes.
And if I know that you're still thinking and grounding, if there's anything that anybody wants to share, we would have time for one or two people if they had something they wish to share from their experience. Just unmute yourself and start talking because Jan and I can't see everybody at once, it seems like.
Okay.
Nobody's unmuting. We'll move along.
Yeah, let's move along. What we want to do for part 2 is to talk about how we get the most benefit from the changes that we didn't really want to have happen in our lives. So, a reminder, no change is bad, or so Julian and Tamir continually reminded and remind us. It's our perspective that judges a change as bad, not the actual change. So, the most important thing for us to do is to change our perspective about those changes that we didn't want to have happen. And one option, obviously, is to move from framing a change from bad to extremely inconvenient. Okay. And I want to also note that in reading through the workshops and also classes with Tamir, they have both indicated that negative changes are typically associated with corrections to our path. They're the way for the universe to go from very delicate nudges to something stronger to make sure that we are going down the path that we were meant to go down. Sometimes those path corrections are for us. And sometimes, believe it or not, they're also for those people who are around us. And those major path corrections of others also affect us. So why do we change? Why do we judge change or certain changes as negative ones or ones that we don't want? I think the most important one is because it's damn inconvenient. Let's just face it. This is not a good time for this to happen. It's causing all sorts of other problems. It's just plain inconvenient. Sometimes it's something we didn't want to happen, such as the loss of a loved one or a loss of a job that we really liked. Um, Sometimes the problem is we had plans set. We knew what we were going to do. We knew we are going to do it, and it takes our plans and it throws them out of the window. And we feel as if, why did we do all this work if this is going to happen? Sometimes these changes have significant negative financial, physical, mental, or even emotional impact. It's not necessary, it's just, if we lose all our money in the stock market, that's going to be a bad change from our perspective because we're now suddenly no longer on the ground we thought we were on. We're no longer in a solid ground at all. And sometimes a negative change is just that it moves us out of our comfort zone, whether it's just away from longtime habits or whether it's the change is requiring us to do things that are completely new and challenging. We're not feeling comfortable with our lives anymore. Our life is no longer easy and flowing the way it was flowing before, and therefore we don't like this change. But if we believe our spiritual teachers, even these negative changes are critical for us. And so it's really essential for us to understand why we need these changes and how they relate to our life path. A change may be part of our critical experience, as our people who've talked about said what they've learned, critical learning experiences, whether they be about patience or other things. So we need to understand, if we can, what we're learning and how we're growing. So you might want to ask yourself the following questions. What new possibilities for growth and creativity in innovation and exploration have come into your life because of the change? As stated by the famous Mother Superior in The Sound of Music, when God closes a door, he opens a window. So what window has opened for you? And then more important, how do you take advantage of that window? Another question, what weakness of mine or of my situation did this change bring to my attention? We suddenly realize vulnerabilities we have and things that we need to pay attention to because of those vulnerabilities. Donna had some really great examples of that. And then what did I learn about myself in the process? And the other question to ask yourself is, what can I do to make this negative change more palatable to me? How can I make it more acceptable? How can I adjust my life or my habits to make it even better than it was my life was before? How does that feel to people? And my suggestion is we just go ahead and start into the second meditation, which is going to deal with these negative changes and talk about a bunch of things after it.
And so we take a deep breath again. And we find that our bodies are still and relaxed. And we feel the purified and protected space of our temple of light, of our space, our sacred space. And we take another breath and find that our minds are ready. And with the third breath, we feel our minds elevate to that right and perfect space. Again, they magically know because they already have the unicorn where we're going. And we take the fourth breath in which we realize again, yet again, that we are working as a unit in support of each other. And we realize how big our unit is, for that unit includes the earth herself and the stars that are singing with us. all of creation and the creative force itself. That support is here in our circle of light. And in this space, we take a moment to feel the universe. Feel it form around you. And you find that there's a hush that's coming that says something's about to change. And you realize that we have an equinox. And that all is about to shift. And we're going to claim the power of that shift, that equinox, as we breathe in. Breathe in the changes that have happened. That's that breath in with the equinox. And hold it deep within. How do the changes serve me, and how will I use them to serve all that is? So here we are at the autumn. And when we breathed in, we realized we breathed in nurturing. We breathed in the harvest of all of our hard work, the harvest of the changes that have happened, and that which feeds our personal goals, and our personal goals that feed the universal goals, and the universal goals which are part of the divine plan. And so holding that harvest within us, that harvest of nurturing, that harvest of letting go of what we don't need and claiming the bounty of what we do wish to keep. Holding that harvest, we find ourselves looking toward winter. It's a ways away. There's a lot more harvest time between now and winter. But we feel that darkness of the winter. Right now, we're in that perfect point of balance, light and dark. And as we begin to move in our mind's eye and feel the energies moving toward winter, we realize that we're carrying with us all the changes that we wish to claim inside us. And so we allow ourselves to feel the energy of winter and project ourselves into the winter. The time of introspection. What use am I making of the transformations within myself? How am I carrying them into the world? How much closer is the world to a tipping point in which brotherhood and sisterhood are constant? And so we carry that energy inside ourselves. We have tipped. We have transformed. We are truly one with all of creation, with all of humanity. And here in the winter energy, taking all of these transformations deep within, we begin to plan what next. For we had the intake of our breath with the autumn and moving into winter. And that will always be followed by the exhale of spring. And so allow yourself to project into the future, into the energy of spring as you exhale. You exhale all that light that's accumulated inside you as you went within. And you find that you're joined by the energy of spring herself, and that coming of the light. And you find that all of those plans that you made as you thought through, how do I take my changes into the world to make the greatest difference for myself and all of humanity, you find that they're all fed with the energy of the spring. The energy of the spring rains and the sun beating down, gently sharing that light. And you can allow your plans to be rather like the seeds that you planted during the winter, for you see them springing up into the world. And you see them growing, and you realize this is what you're doing with the transformations. You're making use of them. And as you feed your own goals, you take a moment to feel universal goals and realize you're feeding them as well. And you find that spring is followed by summer, a time of growth, with the sun supporting you, the earth, water, fire, air, creator and creation, summer growth of our goals, and again back to the harvest, where we are now. What have we claimed? How does it serve us? The pony is very clear. And we allow ourselves to feel that hush again, that hush that comes with the changing of the seasons. And you realize something's about to tip again. And you know that that thing that is tipping is you into new perspectives as you harvest what you've sown and what the universe has provided you in support. You've just traveled a year in a few minutes. Imagine how much more you will actually do. We are light. The light of the Creator lives in us. We are love. The love that is creation itself. And we are peace. We will be at peace no matter what's going on around us. We will be and are at peace. So be it. And then take a moment to breathe deeply and feel your body and take sips of water. And if there's anything that you want to write down or reflect on, you could do it now. And if you want to share anything, we're going to have a little bit more discussion. But if there's something you'd like to share, feel free to unmute and share. Take it away, Jan. I have a feeling people may want to share something as we start chit-chatting. Oh, you're muted still, sweetie.
As we were doing this, like I said, Akau's message came out, and there were several things that struck us. And one of the things that struck us again was this particular quote from Akau. It's about making decisions this fall. He says, take the pressure off yourself to make decisions now. Many of you are already finding yourself in a new situation, and it can feel a bit unnerving because the energies are unfamiliar to you. Settle in a bit. Learn to accept where you are now and know with a certainty that guidance is there. Be okay not knowing what the next step might be. Change is occurring, of that there is no doubt. But the push to decide it now isn't necessary. What we're hoping to sort of give you the tools with today is to do that introspection, both on a cognitive level, asking the right questions, and of course, to engage with the other side, get a higher perspective about whether to accept a change or not, or what the next steps should be. We suggest you do some journaling, think about possibilities, and figure out how to bring joy and clarity in your life. And I was thinking about this today about, we all are overwhelmed by especially some of the political things that are going on in the world today, or the things that are being made political, is something that June said over and over and over in workshops. There is a future and it is good. And my suggestion is to turn it into a mantra. Whenever you get into the state where you're feeling overwhelmed and worried about what the future is, use that as a mantra. There is a future and it is good. Let's do a little bit. If anybody wants to share, this is a great time, and then we'll close up. Anybody have any experiences or comments? We're all very quiet today. Denise.
Hi. Um, Last Sunday, Jerry asked me a question, and I'm pondering it as it relates to this class as well. And that was, with all the astrological changes we're experiencing, which affect everybody, and are, is there light at the end of the tunnel, or are there positive aspects coming in? And so I just want to simply say that one of the things that's true is when we have squares and oppositions or a big change in a planetary movement into a new sign, the universe offers us these trines and sextiles, which are the positive flowing aspects to balance it. And we're never given too much that we can't break, we can't keep that in balance. So I just wanted to say that because of this age being in polarities, we're going to see the extremes, and the media really focuses on the negative. But just know that in our own personal experience, we're always given the positive tools along with the challenging tools in order to create a package we can work with.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that's really uncomfortable here is we are dealing with the vestiges of the Piscean age. We have a group of individuals in this world who don't want to let the Piscean energy go away. and a group of individuals who want to move into the age of brotherhood and love and the Aquarian energies. And these are just clashing horribly right now. And they're up front of us. And let's just remember the clash and it's up to us to make sure the energies that we want to go forward happen. So let's make sure that the right energies go forward. It's part of
I
our
I
job.
I would like to follow up on what Denise is saying in that in this time of feeling like you have no say and things are being dictated that are uncomfortable and may feel negative and not right. I find that I think I don't have a choice. I have no say. I have no power. And I've decided that that is not true. And so I don't drive the same way to the grocery store every day. I take a different route. I have power to choose how I drive my car. I can drive the speed limit or I can not drive the speed limit. It doesn't necessarily mean I do eggs every morning for my breakfast. Maybe I just do toast, or maybe I have steak. Maybe I wear a bathing suit. I won't, but I could. It's my choice. I have power. I have the ability to control most of the things that go on in my life, and I can choose how I do that.
Yeah, perfect. We're getting quite a
Well said.
yeah, well said. We're getting quite a long time. I want to close, and then if people want to stay and chat afterwards, that's great. I wanted to close with a book that came to um, my attention over the last month by a gentleman named Mark Devine, and he's a Navy SEAL, or was, and he wrote this book recently called Uncommon. And this tells a wonderful Cherokee parable about two wolves that I think address our challenges, not only for this fall, but probably for the next year or so. Quote, the Cherokee culture believes that two wolves reside in us all. The fear wolf lives in our minds. It's a nasty, dark, gloomy, cynical, envious, and in constant need of attention and feedback. It's responsible for all our jealous, judging, angry, and doubting thoughts. It's always finding fault with self and others, and it thrives on false beliefs that lead to self-limiting concepts. The fear wolf eats, I am not enough for breakfast. The courage wolf resides in our hearts. It is associated with the feelings of goodness, abundance, optimism, compassion, gratitude, and high self-esteem. It feeds on positive imagery and kind words of forgiveness and encouragement. When fed over time, Courage Wolf transforms into unconditional love of self and others and a limitless self-concept. The parable goes that a grandfather tells his grandson about two wolves that lives inside us, and he explains how they are at war. The boy then asks, Grandfather, which wolf wins? And the grandfather replies, the one you feed the most. So let's make sure that we're feeding the courage wolf this season as we re-examine and deal with all the changes that are come our way. And I know Andrea and I are both hoping that you've found the pony within your changes. And please continue to look for the magical unicorn because it's there. Might be hiding, right behind a tree after the next step down your path. Comments? Any discussion? That's sort of the end of today for right now that we have planned. Andrea, please finish up.
I don't know if all of you knew the thing about the pony, finding the pony. Um, Karen Lane, one of the most wonderful people on the planet, used to say all the time, and I know other people have said it as well, there must be a pony under this pile of shit somewhere. And and that's the motivator for finding the pony. We sometimes look at the poop and forget that there's no poop without the pony. You got to find the pony and make use of it in your life. So here's to a year, a winter, a fall, a harvest of ponies and unicorns, and a winter of introspection that is just glorious. Please keep in touch with each other and support each other. Um, it makes a difference. Having each other makes a difference. So please reach out to each other. If you don't have a study buddy, find one, um, a study group. Um, if you need anything, remember that the Julian Advisory Board as a whole is here for you and would love to be of assistance. Remember that East Coast group that meets every Sunday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific time. There is life at 8 a.m. on Sunday morning Pacific time. So join it and you'll find life and you'll find healing and support there. So that's basically all I had to share here at the end is uh, be excellent to each other and party on.
Thank you for this beautiful, beautiful example of divine feminine wisdom today.
Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome, Paul. Thank
Thank
you
you
for
so much.
being
Thank
here.
you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank
Well
you.
done. Well
Thank
done.
you.
Thank you. Oh, I love the hearts. Whomever threw those, thank you. You can do that so easy on our little